are now listening to the Dad Rules Podcast with your hosts, Mario E. and Kid.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Dad Rules Podcast, where we help you dad better. I'm one of your hosts, Mario E. My other host, Kid. What's going on?
Not much, man. Glad to be here. What we got today?
All right. So today's topic is going to be time heals all wounds. All right. So, Kid, start us off.
Man, does time really heal all wounds, though? Like all wounds? Like, okay, things might get better over time, but like, do they really heal? I know it sounds good, but like, do they really heal though? I don't know, man. I'm not a person that has a whole lot of trauma or been through a whole lot of different things like in my childhood or anything like that. But I would have to think, man, even after forgiveness, man, is it like still some things that you go through with that?
Yeah.
Like, or do you still feel like, okay, that happened to me one time, but it will not happen again? You know what I'm saying? So like, is that wound really like all the way healed? I guess that's what I'm kind of looking at, because like me and my sister, we were having a conversation yesterday, and like we were talking about something, and she was saying about something about somebody that both of us knew in the past or whatever, and I was just like, well, you know, that sounds about right, you know, based off of who that person used to be when I spent a lot of time with that person or whatever. And I was like, and she brought up a good point, but she was more like, don't hold people to what they used to be. And I'm all for forgiveness and being able to change. I don't feel like we should hold that against, but I'm just saying, like, we still use our prior knowledge of that person to put into the equation when we're trying to figure out, okay, did this person do this act, or did they, did they mistreat somebody or something like that? And I was like, probably so, because, they weren't really a good person when I was around them a lot, Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, yeah, they was a jerk when I knew him. They was a jerk back then, and so they probably still are a jerk today. I know that could be wrong, but like, I don't know, man. When people are rude and disrespectful, it's kind of hard to erase that if I haven't spent time around you since you have changed. So I feel like we have to be careful about how we treat people, because later on, people still they not hold it against you so much, but it's like they're gonna proceed with caution when they get around you.
Yeah,
I think that's something that I'm definitely gonna concentrate a lot on with Jonah, is making sure that, bro, be careful of how you act and how you treat people, because when you have to come back around that person, they might not feel good about you. And it's not good when a lot of people are not feeling good about you.
Right.
I know we say don't care about what people think, but it does matter what people think.
Yeah. Certain people.
Perception.
Yeah,
Yeah, true. Certain people. But, the same perception is reality. Mm-hmm. So I feel like if you're doing everything that you can to be the best person that you can be, then yes, you shouldn't care about what everybody else thinks.
Right.
But if you're out here wilding out, and then when the time comes where you want people to take you seriously and nobody takes you seriously, you can't blame nobody but yourself. And I think we have to be straight up and be honest with our kids as they get older. And saying, I mean, and that even goes with lying. I was telling, the story about the little boy who cried wolf, man. I mean, I know that's like a nursery rhyme or whatever, but like, that's so true, man. You can't keep on lying and think people are going to continue to believe you. And then when you really need them to believe you or trust you, that trust going to be there.
Right.
Because in the world, people going to say, why should I trust you? I don't owe you anything. You're not a dependable person. You're not pleasant to be around. And frankly, I don't have to deal with you. We deal with kids like that. Kids get a pass a lot of times. But as you get into adulthood, man, nobody want to be around you. You got a whole bunch of drama.
Yeah.
So time heals all wounds. Yes, I feel like you should forgive people. Bottom line, I feel like you should forgive people. The time that you need to forgive somebody, I don't think anybody's trying to dictate that to you. In my faith, I feel like, we're supposed to forgive right away. And I feel like that's the best thing to do, is just forgive, saying it verbally. But then I do believe that there's a process after forgiveness has been verbally said. And are you truly over? And I think time takes place after that. And that's when I think wounds can start to heal. But if somebody really hurts you bad, when it's time for somebody else to hurt you again, I feel like that's very difficult to ask somebody to open that wound back up and let you, hurt them again.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, so, here's what I think. When I think about, when I hear the statement, time heals all wounds. So a couple of things stand out to me with that. The whole thing stands out, but the biggest thing that stands out to me is all. And like a lot of the young kids now say, that's cap. That's what I say. That's what I say to that. Does time heal all wounds? That's cap. Okay. Because it does not heal all wounds. And I heard it said like this, and I'm paraphrasing because I saw this on social media from a friend of mine. They put something to the effect of, you can be 60 years old with, again, I'm paraphrasing, you could be 60 years old with a 50-year-old wound. Okay. 50 years is a long time. Okay. 50 years can be a very long time to hold on to, a wrong that somebody did to you when you were younger.
Yeah.
And did time heal that wound? Apparently not. It could have been unforgiveness there, or it could have been just, the person constantly doing the same thing over and over again, right? It could be plenty of different things. So no, time doesn't heal all wounds, but like you said at the beginning, it sounds good. It makes us feel like, oh, well, it'll get better with time. It can, if a couple of things happen. One of the things that need to happen is, and the number one thing that needs to happen is God needs to be in the middle of it. Right. And you kind of mentioned some of that stuff, to me, only God can heal all the wounds. So time doesn't heal the wounds. God heals the wounds. Right. And there needs to be a level of forgiveness, needs to be forgiveness by, the person who was wrong, and some people may not even want to hear that. Some people want to, I'm not going to go into details, but some people like to wallow in their wounds, because it just makes them feel a certain way to hold on to hurt. It gives them something to rally behind, a lot of times. Sometimes, man, you just got to live in peace, man, and just say, hey, look, yeah, they did that to me. I'm releasing them from it, because I don't want to walk around with hatred or any of that in my heart, or bitterness in my heart, because they got control over you. If you walking around mad at somebody all the time, they got control over you, so you just got to release them, forgive them, and move on. That don't mean you got to be around them day after day after day, but you do need to forgive them and keep it moving. But and here's another thing, I'd say this, some people may not, who maybe watch the podcast might not, advocate for this, but There's nothing wrong with therapy, man. There's nothing wrong with talking about things. There's nothing wrong with, seeing a counselor. You need to see the right counselor. I'm not here to tell you who the right counselor is for you and your situation, but definitely talking about things and being transparent and getting some counseling and some therapy for some things. I know a lot of times in certain communities, specifically, sometimes it seems like in the Black community, we don't want to talk about things. We don't want to tell people to seek therapy. Ain't nothing wrong with seeking help, man. Again, it's just what type of help are you seeking? What type of things are they telling you? But there's nothing wrong with seeking out some help and talking to people about certain things, because that can help you. That's otherwise, that's how you get people being old, 70, 80 years old, mad at their sister for doing something to them, when they were in their early 20s. That's how you get those situations, man, and you never talked about it as a family, and that can't be. You don't want to be that old still having bitterness toward a family member. That's sad, that you let all those years waste, being upset, that you didn't release them from whatever they did that wronged you. But yeah, time does not heal all wounds. It can heal some wounds, but not all wounds. But it's definitely important. I think that, like I said, you forgive people and you release them and give it over to the Lord and let him do the rest. But definitely find somebody to talk to, whether if it's a trusted friend, a counselor, a therapist, somebody in the clergy that you trust, or whomever, man. You gotta get that out, man. You got to kind of rehab those feelings. It's just like, man, if you were to tear your ACL, if you're an athlete and you tear your ACL, there's a certain level of rehab that you have to go through, to be able to get back to 100%. It's the same thing with things emotionally and mentally that we go through. Is a certain amount of rehab that you have to go through, right? Yeah. And you have to do the same things with your emotions. And if someone wrongs you, you got to talk about those things. I mean, if you feel hurt, you need to say those things, I mean, talking about it a lot of times will make you feel better about it, and getting some good, wise counsel to help you through it. That can be good. If you're a dad and, hey, I don't know why I'm going this way, but if you're a dad and you've got some bitterness toward the baby mama, talk about it with some other dads, man, and your dad counsel. And that can make you, feel better about it. And it can maybe give you some pointers as to help that situation with the baby mama. Or if you're a dad and you've got teenage kids, or maybe your kids are just about grown and maybe some things happen, you need to talk about those things, man. You know? And that's what we're trying to help create here, this forum for dads to be able to talk to each other and for us to heal, because I miss it sometimes. I miss it plenty of times. I can tell you every day, that I miss it in some way, shape, or form with my kids, but I'm trying to make sure I learn from it. It's been plenty of times I had to go back to my son or my daughter and say, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't say that right. I didn't do that right, but, and, they sometimes they talk half crazy to me and I have to put them in that place. And I have to forgive them. Right. But there's no sense in letting bitterness, to reign, that's not good. It's not good for the relationship. Yeah.
And I agree. I think every relationship that we have had in the past, if you had some trauma with your dad, or you had an issue with your mom, or you had an issue with your brother or sister, aunt, uncle, cousin, whoever it is, it's going to have an impact on your new relationships. And even for this matter, if it's we have a lot of female listeners too. So even if it's an old boyfriend, even if it's an old girlfriend, those relationships, if you got trauma going on there, it will affect your husband or wife, your relationship with them. Mm-hmm. If you have an issue with your mom or dad, it's going to have an impact on how you handle your daughter or your son.
Exactly.
If you have an issue with your brother or sister, it's going to have an impact on your child, your son, and how he has a relationship with his sister. It's going to have an impact. We go ahead and get that in our minds that it's going to have an impact on how you handle it. Now, the impact can either be positive or it can be negative. Mm-hmm. It's two outcomes. He's going to have a positive impact or negative impact. So if you had some trauma with your dad, or let's say that your mom told you that you were nothing and she never supported you like she should have, or if your dad was abusive, physically abusive to you, those are issues. Or you and your sister never saw eye to eye, or you and your brother always had a negative competition going on between you all. It is going to have an impact. But what you have to do is you have to realize that, hey, this is something negative that happened, but I'm not going to let it happen to me. So I didn't have a good relationship with my dad, but I'm going to have a good relationship with my son.
Right.
You know, I didn't have a good relationship with my mother, but my daughter, I don't care what me and her are going through, my daughter's going to have a good relationship with her mom. Or I know I don't get along with my brother and my sister, but my kids are going to have an excellent relationship with each other. So right. We have to take charge. We have to take power. We have to go on from there. We can't sit back and just we can't let our kids just grow up like weeds. We have to be involved, and we have to be there with our kids and giving them the right guidance that they need to be successful in their relationships that they're going to be in. Now, if you, like you said, if you need to go talk to somebody, you need to get yourself clean before you mess up somebody else's life. Yeah, that's a whole lot of stuff out there, and all this. Love me through my I don't know. Love me through all of my flaws. And I'm gonna wake up. Someone as I wake up and I'm just a jerk to you, but I still want you to love me. That stuff that's for the birds. Nobody deserves to have to put up with your mess. Clean yourself up so you can be the best dad, be the best mother that you need to be. Point blank. Yeah. You got anything on the topic? Anything else?
No, I don't have. I don't have anything else on it.
All right. Well, we thank you guys for listening to the Dad Roots podcast with Mario E and Kid, and we're going to catch you guys next time. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Dad Rules podcast with your hosts, Mario E and Kid. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, follow and like us on Facebook and Instagram. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Breaker, and Player FM. Till next time.